In the small public garden at the heart of the city, a sparrow awakens gently as the first light of dawn begins to illuminate the sky. He is nestled comfortably in a small hollow between two branches of an old plane tree. It's not an elaborate nest like those built by some birds, just a simple assembly of twigs, leaves, and a few fallen feathers. Nevertheless, it is his home, his shelter against the elements and predators. The sparrow, whom we shall call gray due to his modest plumage, slightly shakes his wings and stretches his small body. The night has been calm and cool. Around him, other sparrows also begin to wake, creating a slight rustling in the foliage. A few discreet chirps are exchanged, like morning greetings between neighbors. Gray pokes his head out of his nest and observes the awakening world. The park is still quiet, almost deserted at this early hour. Only a solitary jogger traverses the main path, his regular footsteps echoing on the gravel. The sparrow watches without fear, accustomed to human presence. Human beings are simply a part of his daily landscape, creatures with predictable movements who sometimes drop food. The early morning light has a particular quality to it, a soft, golden hue that makes everything look slightly different than it will later in the day. This light filters through the leaves of the plane tree, creating a dappled pattern on the branches and the ground below. Gray observes this pattern, though he doesn't think about it in the way humans might. For him, it's simply the familiar appearance of the world at this time of day, a signal that it's time to begin his daily activities. Gray's first task of the day is to find his breakfast. He flies from his nest with a discreet fluttering of wings and lands on the lawn still wet with dew. With precise movements, he begins to peck here and there, finding small seeds fallen from trees, insects still numb from the night's coolness, and tiny worms venturing to the surface of the soil. The grass beneath his feet is cool and damp, bending slightly under his light weight. Droplets of dew cling to the green blades, reflecting the early morning light. As Gray hops from spot to spot, these droplets sometimes fall, creating tiny splashes that are practically imperceptible to human eyes, but momentarily catch Gray's attention before he returns to his search for food. A little further away, near a bench, Gray spots bread crumbs. Someone must have had breakfast here the previous evening. The sparrow approaches with cautious little hops, constantly checking around him. The life of a small bird is full of potential dangers. A cat might appear, or a larger predatory bird. But at this hour, nothing threatens his tranquility. He reaches the crumbs and begins to peck at them with satisfaction. The bread crumbs vary in size and texture. Some are soft, having absorbed the morning dew, while others remain crisp. Gray doesn't have preferences. He simply consumes what is available, what will provide the energy he needs for the day ahead. His small beak works efficiently, breaking down the larger pieces into manageable sizes before swallowing. The sun gradually rises in the sky, warming the air and chasing away the night's coolness. Gray finishes his meal and flies to a small puddle of water formed by dew in the hollow of a concrete slab. He briefly dips into it, shaking his feathers to refresh himself and clean up. This grooming ritual is important to maintain his plumage in good condition, essential for flying efficiently and protecting himself from the elements. The water in the puddle is still and clear, reflecting the blue of the sky and the green of the surrounding vegetation. As Gray moves, the reflection shimmers and breaks into ripples that quickly settle back into stillness. The water feels cool against his feathers, a pleasant sensation in the slowly warming morning air. After his grooming, Gray flies to a low branch of a nearby tree, From there, he can observe the park as it gradually comes to life. A mother and her child arrive, settling on a bench. The child throws pieces of bread to the pigeons, which quickly gather. Gray watches, hesitant to join this feast. Pigeons are larger, sometimes more aggressive too. He prefers to wait for a more opportune moment. The branch on which Gray perches provides a perfect vantage point. It's not too high, allowing him to see details on the ground, yet not so low as to be easily accessible to potential predators. The bark is rough and textured, providing good grip for his small claws. Gray adjusts his position slightly, finding the most comfortable spot where he can remain for a while, observing without tiring. The morning advances quietly. The park gradually fills up. Employees cross the garden on their way to work, hurried, looking at their watches or their phones. Elderly people come to sit on the benches, enjoying the morning sun. A few dogs on leashes sniff the bushes, sometimes stopping under the tree where Gray is perched, causing him to move a bit higher as a precaution. One particular dog, a small terrier with a white and brown coat, seems especially interested in the scents around the base of the tree. Its owner, an elderly man with a walking stick, lets the dog explore while he rests on a nearby bench. The dog circles the tree trunk, nose to the ground, occasionally looking up as if aware of the birds above. Gray and the other sparrows remain still, relying on their ability to blend into the foliage and their height above the ground to keep them safe. Gray is not the only bird in the park. Pigeons, of course, in large numbers, but also some blackbirds with yellow beaks singing melodiously, tits smaller and more agile than him, and even a chattering magpie that seems to be watching everything that happens with its intelligent gaze. Each species has its habits, its favorite territories, its strategies for finding food. Gray knows them all, having been born here just over a year ago. The magpie is particularly interesting to observe. It moves with purpose, its black and white plumage standing out against the green of the grass. Unlike the sparrows, who tend to move in small, quick hops, the magpie takes longer strides. It seems to be collecting something small, twigs, perhaps, or materials for its nest. The magpie's movements are confident, almost bold, as if it knows it's larger and more formidable than most of the other birds in the park. Towards mid-morning, the sun is higher and the heat begins to be felt. Gray moves to a more shaded area. Excessive heat is not good for small birds, which can quickly suffer from dehydration. He finds a new perch in the shade of large foliage and settles there for a moment of rest. The leaves provide a natural canopy, filtering the increasingly strong sunlight. In this shaded spot, the air is noticeably cooler, a relief from the growing heat of the day. The branch Gray has chosen is smooth and slightly younger than his previous perch, bending slightly under his weight, though not enough to be unstable. From here, he has a different view of the park, slightly obscured by leaves but still allowing him to monitor his surroundings. From this spot, he observes a familiar scene. An elderly man arrives, sits on the same bench as every day, and begins distributing seeds to the birds. It's a daily ritual that Gray knows well. He flies off and joins the other sparrows already gathering around the old man. Unlike the meal with the pigeons here, sparrows are in the majority, and Gray feels more comfortable. The old man wears a weathered hat and a light jacket, despite the warming day. His movements are slow and deliberate, a stark contrast to the hurried pace of the younger park visitors. His face is lined with age, but his eyes are alert and kind as he watches the birds gather. He reaches into a small paper bag, pulling out handfuls of mixed seeds which he scatters on the ground and occasionally places on the bench beside him. The man throws the seeds with slow, precise gestures, seeming to take pleasure in seeing the birds feed. Gray approaches cautiously, pecks up a few seeds, then flies to a safe distance to consume them. He repeats this maneuver several times, thus accumulating a good quantity of food. These moments are precious, abundant nourishment without too much effort. The seeds are varied. Some are small and black, others larger and pale. Some have a harder shell that requires more effort to crack open, while others can be consumed whole. Gray doesn't discriminate. Each type provides different nutrients, all valuable for his small, active body. He's particularly drawn to the sunflower seeds, which, though requiring more effort to open, provide a rich, oily reward inside. Noon approaches, and with it, the warmest period of the day. Activity in the park diminishes. Visitors seek shade or leave the garden to lunch elsewhere. Gray, with a full belly, returns to his nest for a moment of rest. The midday nap is a common habit among birds, particularly during hot days. The temperature has risen significantly since morning. The air feels heavy and still, with barely a breeze to rustle the leaves. Even the sounds of the city seem muted, as if the heat has dampened them. The concrete paths in the park radiate warmth, creating shimmering waves above them that distort the view. Few humans remain in the exposed areas. Like the birds, they seek the comfort of shade. In his nest, sheltered from view and predators, Gray grooms himself again, arranging his feathers with his beak. This behavior is not just a matter of cleanliness. It's also a way to check that his plumage is in good condition. Well-maintained plumage is essential for flying correctly and protecting oneself from cold and rain. The process is methodical and thorough. Gray starts with his head, using his feet to scratch where his beak cannot reach. Then he moves to his wings, carefully arranging each feather in its proper place, ensuring there are no gaps or irregularities that might affect his flight. He pays special attention to his flight feathers, the long, strong feathers of his wings that provide the lift and control necessary for aerial movement. Finally, he attends to his tail feathers, which act as a rudder during flight, helping him make precise turns and landings. After this grooming session, Gray rests, dozing slightly. His small heart beats more slowly, conserving energy during the hours least conducive to activity. Around him, the park also seems drowsy under the midday heat. Even the city sounds seem muted, as if the entire world were taking a pause. Gray's rest is not deep like human sleep. It's a lighter state, where he remains somewhat aware of his surroundings, ready to react to danger. His eyes close partially, but not completely, and his head may tuck slightly into his feathers, but he's capable of full alertness in an instant if needed. This adaptability is crucial for survival in a world where dangers can appear at any moment. This rest lasts about an hour. Then, as if awakened by an internal clock, Gray shakes himself and leaves his nest. The afternoon is already well underway, and temperatures begin to become more clement. It's time to resume exploration and the search for food. The park has a different feel in the afternoon compared to the morning. The light is harsher, coming more directly from above, creating shorter, more defined shadows. The air has a different scent too, warmer, with hints of flowers that have opened fully in response to the day's heat. The soundscape has changed as well, fewer birds singing, but more human voices as people use their lunch breaks to visit the park. To vary his diet, Gray leaves the park and flies to the neighboring street. City streets often offer different feeding opportunities. He perches on a windowsill, then on a sign, observing the comings and goings of humans. A cafe terrace particularly attracts his attention. People are eating there, sometimes dropping crumbs. The windowsill is made of stone, warm from the sun but not uncomfortably hot. From this vantage point, Gray can see a different aspect of city life. The constant movement of people and vehicles, the exchange of goods, the interactions that make up urban existence. To a human observer, it might seem chaotic, but Gray perceives patterns and rhythms in this activity, just as he does in the natural world of the park. With caution, Gray descends towards the terrace and weaves between the tables. Waiters pass by, carrying trays, without paying attention to the small bird. The customers, absorbed in their conversations or their phones, hardly notice him either. It's perfect for Gray, who can thus collect crumbs of bread, cake, and even some small pieces of fruit. The terrace floor is made of wooden planks, with small gaps between them where crumbs often fall. Gray navigates this terrain skillfully, finding these hidden treasures that humans have unwittingly provided. The wood is warm beneath his feet, different from the cool grass of the park, but not unpleasant. The smells here are different too: coffee, baked goods, the faint scent of perfume worn by some of the customers. A child spots him and points him out to his mother. He seems fascinated by this little visitor. The mother smiles and says something to the child, who laughs. Gray doesn't understand these sounds, of course, but he perceives that there is no threat. He therefore continues his improvised feast, enjoying this temporary manna. The child, a boy of perhaps 4 or 5 years, watches Gray with wide, curious eyes. Children often notice small creatures that adults overlook, their perspective closer to the ground, their attention not yet consumed by the complexities of adult life. For a moment, there's a connection between the child and the bird, a shared awareness that transcends the vast differences between their species. A sudden movement at a neighboring table causes him to fly away quickly. He perches a little further away, on the edge of a public fountain. The flowing water is fresh and clean. Gray takes advantage of it to drink a few drops, another essential activity of his day. Hydration is crucial for birds, especially in the city where natural water sources are rare. The fountain is made of old stone, worn smooth by years of flowing water. The basin is shallow enough for Gray to stand in safely, the water barely covering his feet. He leans down, dipping his beak into the clear liquid, then tilting his head back slightly to let the water run down his throat. He repeats this several times, the cool water refreshing after his meal and the heat of the day. After quenching his thirst, Gray observes his surroundings. The street is lively, with cars passing, pedestrians walking hurriedly. On the sidewalk across the street, a man is walking his dog, which sniffs every post, every corner. Gray remains attentive, knowing that dogs can represent a danger. The dog is a medium-sized retriever, golden in color, its coat catching the sunlight as it moves. Its owner holds the leash loosely, confident in the dog's obedience. The dog shows interest in everything it encounters, but it's well-trained, not lunging or barking at smaller creatures. Still, Gray watches cautiously, instinct reminding him that even well-behaved dogs retain predatory instincts. A sudden noise attracts his attention. A delivery truck has stopped in front of a shop, and the rear doors open with a metallic creak. The delivery man begins to unload boxes. Curious, Gray flies off and perches on a nearby lamppost to better observe. Human activities are often sources of unexpected opportunities for birds. The lamppost provides an excellent observation point, high enough to be safe, but close enough to see details. The metal is warm from the sun, but not unbearably so. Gray adjusts his grip on the narrow perch, finding his balance with the natural skill of a creature born to navigate three-dimensional space. From here, he can see not only the delivery truck, but also a wide sweep of the street, the movement of people, the patterns of urban life. Indeed, while handling the boxes, the delivery man drops some seeds or cereals. As soon as he moves away to enter the shop, Gray quickly descends and pecks at these unexpected treasures. Other sparrows arrive, attracted by the same windfall. There's a bit of jostling, excited chirping. It's the law of nature in the city: be quick and opportunistic. The scattered seeds are varied, probably from some health food package that was damaged during delivery. There are sesame seeds, tiny and pale, sunflower seeds still in their striped shells, and what appear to be oats or similar grains. The sparrows move quickly, each trying to secure as much food as possible before the opportunity passes. Despite the competition, there's no real aggression. It's more a dance of quick movements, with each bird finding its share. The delivery man returns, and the birds all fly away together in a rustle of wings. They perch on a nearby roof, waiting for the man to leave, so they can perhaps continue their feast. But this time he doesn't drop anything. The opportunity has passed. The roof where the sparrows have taken refuge is flat and covered with a layer of gravel. It's hot in the afternoon sun, but the birds don't mind for the short time they are there. From this elevation, they have a different perspective on the street below, seeing it as a bird might a landscape of shapes, movements, and potential resources, rather than as the human-centered space it was designed to be. Gray then decides to return to the park. The afternoon advances, and he prefers to be in a more familiar environment before evening falls. On the way back, he flies over a small square where a market was held earlier in the day. The stalls are dismantled, but some fruit and vegetable debris remains. Another opportunity to feed that Gray doesn't miss. The flight back is not direct. Gray makes slight detours, exploring, checking for possible food sources or dangers. His movements through the air are efficient, with each wing beat precisely controlled, allowing him to navigate the urban landscape with minimal energy expenditure. He flies at a moderate height, neither so low as to be in danger from cats or other ground predators, nor so high as to be noticed by hawks or falcons that might patrol the skies above the city. He lands near an apple core and pecks at the still fresh flesh. The sugar from the fruits is an appreciable source of energy, different from the seeds and insects that constitute his usual diet. Other birds are also present, taking advantage of the market leftovers. There are even some seagulls come from the nearby port, larger and more aggressive, disputing the best morsels. Gray keeps his distance from these intimidating cousins. The apple core is browning in the air, but still contains plenty of sweet, nutritious flesh. It's a different taste from Gray's usual fare, and he approaches it with the caution of a creature trying something different. The first few pecks confirm it's good food, and he continues more enthusiastically. The sweetness provides a quick energy boost, welcome after the activities of the day. A street sweeper arrives with his cart and begins to clean the square. The birds scatter, each returning to its activities. Gray resumes his flight towards the park, his refuge. On the way, he crosses paths with other sparrows, some he recognizes as part of his usual group. They exchange a few chirps, a simple but effective form of communication. The street sweeper's arrival changes the dynamics of the square. His broom pushes the scattered food remains into piles, making them temporarily more accessible before they are swept into the waste cart. Some of the bolder birds, including a few pigeons and one persistent seagull, follow behind him, quickly grabbing what they can before it's gone. Gray, however, decides the potential reward isn't worth the risk of being so close to a human and continues on his way. The return to the park occurs without incident. Gray flies over the trees, spotting his familiar plane tree, but before rejoining his nest, he still makes a few rounds in the garden. Evening approaches, and it's often a time when visitors feed the birds before returning to their homes. The park has a different atmosphere in the late afternoon. The harsh midday heat has softened, and a gentle breeze has picked up, rustling the leaves in a soothing sound. More people are present now, enjoying the pleasant weather before sunset. There are families with children, couples walking hand in hand, solitary readers on benches, and the occasional jogger completing their evening exercise. Indeed, near the central pond, a group of children is throwing bread to the ducks. The ducks swim quickly towards this offering, creating ripples in the calm water. But they are not the only ones interested. Pigeons have gathered on the bank, and a few sparrows, including Gray, stand nearby, ready to seize the crumbs neglected by the larger birds. The pond water reflects the late afternoon sun, creating a golden shimmer across its surface. The ducks' movements break this reflection into dancing patterns of light, a visual spectacle that goes unnoticed by Gray but captivates the watching children. The bread pieces float momentarily before being snatched up by the eager ducks, who sometimes squabble over particularly large chunks, creating small splashes and excited quacking. Gray waits for his moment, then quickly advances to take a small piece of bread that the others have neglected. He flies away immediately after, taking shelter on a branch to consume his finding. This cautious behavior has allowed him to survive thus far in an environment that is not always benevolent towards small creatures. The branch Gray chooses is at a perfect height, high enough to be safe from immediate threats, but low enough to allow him to keep an eye on the ongoing bread distribution. It's a slender branch, swaying slightly in the breeze, but Gray maintains his balance without effort, his claws naturally adapting to the moving perch. From here, he can watch for additional opportunities while safely consuming his found treasure. The sun begins to lower in the sky, tinting the clouds with pink and orange. Activity in the park changes in nature. Families with children leave, replaced by evening joggers, couples walking hand in hand, people returning from work and crossing the park to shorten their path. The changing light creates a softer, more golden quality to the park's appearance. Shadows lengthen, stretching across the grass like dark fingers. The temperature begins to drop slightly, a welcome relief after the heat of the day. The air takes on a different scent too, with the day's accumulated warmth releasing aromas from the plants and soil that was suppressed during the hotter hours. For Gray and the other birds, it's time to prepare for the night. He makes one last tour of the garden, checking if there's a final opportunity to feed before darkness. Near a trash can, he finds some seeds fallen from a snack packet, a last welcome meal before the nocturnal rest. These final seeds of the day are a mixed variety, similar to those the old man distributed earlier. Gray consumes them quickly but thoroughly, instinctively aware that having a full crop before nightfall will help him maintain his body temperature during the cooler hours ahead. As he eats, he remains alert, aware that predators are often more active during this transitional time between day and night. Twilight settles in gently. The park lights come on, creating yellow halos in the growing darkness. Gray returns to his nest, settling in comfortably. Around him, other sparrows do the same, each rejoining its shelter for the night. A few chirps are still exchanged, like wishes for a good night. The artificial lighting changes the park's appearance dramatically. Areas that were in full sunlight during the day now exist in a mix of deep shadows and pools of yellow light. Most humans have left, but a few still wander the paths, their forms appearing and disappearing as they move through the lighted areas. For Gray, these lights are neither beneficial nor harmful, simply another feature of the urban environment to which he has adapted. Gray arranges the twigs and feathers of his nest, creating a cozy cocoon around him. The temperature drops slightly, but his plumage and the shelter of the nest protect him effectively. He closes his small eyes, his tiny body gradually relaxing. His day has been productive, without major incident, a good day in the life of an urban sparrow. The preparation for sleep is instinctual but deliberate. Gray tucks his head partially under one wing, a position that conserves body heat and protects his vulnerable eyes. His feathers fluff out slightly, trapping air between them to provide insulation against the cooling night. His breathing slows, his heart rate decreases, and his body begins the process of rest and recovery that will prepare him for another day of activity. In the park that falls asleep, only a few late walkers still remain. The sounds of the city seem muted, as if filtered by the darkness. An owl begins its nocturnal call somewhere in the tall trees. It's another phase of the park's life that begins with its own inhabitants and its own rhythms. The owl's call is soft and distant, barely perceptible to human ears but clear to the other birds. It's a reminder of the night predators that hunt while smaller birds sleep, one of the many dangers that make caution and good shelter essential for survival. Yet for Gray, safely nestled in his protected spot high in the plane tree, the owl poses little immediate threat. Gray, however, is already asleep, his small body at rest, recharging his strength for the following day. Tomorrow will be very similar to today, searching for food, avoiding dangers, moments of rest. This routine, this simplicity, is the life of a sparrow in the city. A modest but resilient existence, adapted to an environment that was not designed for him, but in which he has found his place. The simplicity of this existence has a certain beauty to it. Without the complexities that burden human lives, no worries about the future, no regrets about the past, no abstract concerns about meaning or purpose. Gray lives fully in each moment. His needs are basic and clear: food, water, shelter, safety. When these needs are met, as they have been today, there is a kind of contentment that many humans might envy. In his sleep, Gray probably doesn't dream like humans. His periods of rest are simpler, more directly linked to physical recovery. Yet his brain processes the day's experiences, reinforcing behaviors that have been beneficial to him, adjusting those that could be improved. It's a more primitive form of learning, but just as essential to his survival. The neural processes that occur during Gray's sleep are fascinating in their efficiency. Without conscious thought or deliberate analysis, his brain strengthens the connections that led to successful feeding, retains the memory of where food was found, and refines the reactions that helped him avoid potential dangers. This unconscious learning ensures that tomorrow, Gray will be slightly better adapted to his environment than he was today. The night advances quietly over the park. The sounds of the city gradually fade. Even cars become rarer in the adjacent streets. The world seems to slow down. Take a necessary pause before the resumption of activity in the early morning. As the night deepens, the park transforms. Creatures that are rarely seen during daylight hours emerge. A fox might silently pad along the paths, a hedgehog rustle through the undergrowth, bats swoop overhead catching insects attracted to the park lights. This nocturnal ecosystem operates alongside, but separately from, the daytime one that Gray inhabits. It's a parallel world with its own rules and patterns. In a few hours, when the first gleams of dawn will once again tint the sky, Gray will awaken for a new day. It will probably be very similar to the one he has just lived. A succession of moments devoted to feeding, protecting himself, resting. A simple life, guided by instincts and accumulated experience, rhythmed by the immutable cycle of day and night. The coming day might bring small variations, perhaps rain, that will change his feeding patterns, or unusual human activity that presents new opportunities or challenges. But the basic structure will remain the same, a cycle as old as his species. There is stability in this routine, a natural rhythm that connects Gray to generations of sparrows before him and to all the wild creatures that continue to find their niche in human-modified environments. This existence, devoid of the complexities and ambitions that characterize human life, has its own beauty, its own wisdom. Gray lives fully in the present, responding to the needs of the moment without regret for the past or anxiety for the future. Perhaps therein lies a lesson that the humans who cross the park each day, hurried and preoccupied, could meditate upon. In their rushing, their constant connection to devices, their endless pursuit of more wealth, more status, more possessions, perhaps they miss something essential that Gray, in his simplicity, has mastered. The art of being fully present in each moment, of finding sufficiency in meeting basic needs, of existing in harmony with the natural rhythms of the world. For now, Gray sleeps peacefully in his nest, a small creature in the great sleeping city. Tomorrow will be another day, almost identical to this one, and yet unique in its small details, its encounters, its discoveries. Life continues, simple and resilient, in the eternal cycle of days and nights. This cycle is ancient, predating not only cities and human civilization, but humanity itself. The rhythm of day and night, of waking and sleeping, of hunger and satiation, connects all living creatures across time and space. In his modest existence, Gray is part of something vast and enduring, a web of life that has persisted through countless changes and will continue long after the current forms of human society have passed away. The silence of the night envelops the park like a protective blanket. Only the occasional rustling of leaves in the light breeze disturbs this quietude. The stars, barely visible due to the city lights, twinkle faintly in the night sky. Time seems suspended in this period of calm between sunset and sunrise. This suspension of activity, this quietness, serves an essential purpose in the natural world. It is a time of recovery and regeneration, when energy is conserved and bodies are repaired. Just as Gray's small form rests and rejuvenates, preparing for another day of activity, so too does the larger organism of the park itself seem to take a collective breath, a moment of stillness before the cycle begins anew. In a few hours, the cycle will begin again. Gray will awaken with the first rays of the sun, stretch his wings, and embark on a new day of searching for food and avoiding dangers. A simple, cyclical life, in harmony with the natural rhythm of the world, despite the urban environment that surrounds him. The urban environment, with all its artificial structures and human-imposed patterns, might seem antithetical to natural rhythms. Yet within this concrete landscape, nature finds a way. Plants grow in the smallest cracks, animals adapt to new food sources and shelter opportunities, and the fundamental cycles of life continue. Gray's existence is a testament to this adaptability, this persistent life force that thrives even in places seemingly hostile to it. This is how the life of a sparrow in the city unfolds, day after day, season after season. A humble but tenacious existence, a small flutter of wings in the immensity of the world. And in this very modesty perhaps resides a form of greatness, that of life that persists, that adapts, that finds its place even in the most improbable environments. It's a greatness not of accomplishment or conquest, but of perfect adaptation, of finding harmony within existing conditions rather than attempting to dominate or change them. In his own way, without intention or awareness. Gray embodies a wisdom that many humans spend lifetimes seeking, the wisdom of accepting the world as it is, of finding one's place within it, and of living fully in each moment as it comes. Gray's rest continues peacefully, protected by the darkness of the night and the calm of the sleeping park. Tomorrow is another day, almost identical and yet new, in the quiet life of a small urban sparrow. And so the story of Gray, one among countless similar stories playing out across cities worldwide, reminds us of the simple beauty that exists alongside our complex human lives. It reminds us that even in the midst of concrete and steel, nature continues its ancient patterns. It reminds us that there is wisdom in simplicity, in being attuned to the basic rhythms of life, in finding contentment in the meeting of fundamental needs. As Gray sleeps in his modest nest, as the park rests under the night sky, as the city's pulse slows to a gentle murmur, there is a kind of peace that transcends the divisions between human and animal, between natural and artificial. It is the peace of existence itself, of being part of the great ongoing story of life on Earth, a story in which even the smallest sparrow has its chapter, its purpose, its place.